Supplements have been a hot topic lately, so in this episode, we are going to be breaking down things you had better be doing before you start wasting your money on supplements that are going to be doing nothing if you don't check these boxes first. But first, new listeners, we have a 3-episode rule. If you are still listening to the podcast after 3 episodes, that means you get 1 and 2 for free. The third one, hit pause, leave a quick 5-star review. If you're still listening, you're probably getting some kind of value out of the podcast. So help us spread the word. Help us help more people. Do your part. The more people who hear it, the more can make some changes and better their lives. Returning listeners, you already knew that. So to kind of dive in, I know basically I think everything goes through waves on social media. Everything goes through cycles, and the current cycle is supplements. Creatine kicked it off, and it just kind of keeps rotating through from there. So today we'll break down, we got 5?
6. I just added 1.
She just added 1. 6 main categories of things that you primarily take supplements for and what you should be doing to improve your life and your progress in those areas before you start shelling out tons of money for those.
I first want to talk about, I think it's important to talk about that people sort of view supplements backwards in the sense that they should be the last thing that you are adding into what you focus on when you decide you want to improve your lifestyle, live a healthier lifestyle, lose body fat, gain muscle mass. Supplements should be supplemental to everything else that you're doing. They are not something that should replace other things in your life. And I think a lot of people think of them in that way, whereas they're like this magic pill or this quick fix that's going to immediately boost all areas of your life. And that's just, it couldn't be farther from the truth. So I just want to clarify that for anybody listening and thinking that they want to take supplements or they're looking for some new things to take. We're going to talk about what you need to check off first, but understand that there is not one thing out there that's going to be the magic key for you.
So to that end, to that point, why are people jumping to supplements first?
Are you genuinely asking me?
Oh, I know the answer. Just I'm teeing it up for you.
Well, because it's easy. It seems like something that they can just buy and take, and it's a pill or it's a drink or it's whatever they're coming in these days, and it kind of takes the effort out of the results.
It takes the effort out of the results, because if we can just take this pill, we don't have to worry about the hard work, don't have to worry about making any lifestyle changes. We can keep doing the same shitty things we've been doing. You know what's not easy? Latte art, coffee art, steaming milk, the natural.
To be fair, you only are on day 2 here of your.
It's just the milk. It's just the damn milk. I don't know how to use that little wand that sticks out of the side. We have a maker, a froth maker, a steam. It's not a steamer because there's no water, but it's a froth maker that would be perfectly fine. I'm trying not to cheat. It's really pissing me off. Energy. Want to kick off with that one?
Energy is a good first one because I feel like that's really what most people struggle with. Everybody, at least other millennials and other people our age, but even like other people of all ages, struggle with feeling like they're tired all the time. They're fatigued constantly. They hit that 2:00 time frame every day at work and they feel like they need to go get another coffee. So I would say energy and fatigue are kind of like the top struggle area that majority of our clients come to us with, that majority of people out there are struggling with, whether you're a parent or not, whether you're somebody who works 3 jobs or not. We all have struggled here probably before in our lives. So when it comes to energy, there's a lot of things that you can be doing to help boost your energy before you turn to something like caffeine or a stimulant or a supplement, which we can argue that caffeine specifically is helpful when it comes to having energy for exercise, amongst other things. But strictly talking about the basics here, if you are not sleeping at least 7 hours per night and on a consistent schedule with that, if you are not regularly exercising, those 2 things alone, I guarantee you that's why you don't have energy. And I think a lot of people think they need energy to exercise, when in reality, exercise is what is going to give you more energy.
Yeah, those who are, grinding through these workouts and feeling horrible by the end of them. Volume's too high, intensity's too high. You're probably not recovering enough between, so you might be training too often, let alone too long for each session. We're at a point where we are happy in a lot of areas, I would say. So we almost scaled back without the worry of, oh, I might not get as much out of this session. As that happened, I believe we've both left our workouts feeling much better than when we started, and progress has also gotten more efficient. So especially for myself, and I've noticed this historically, you get stuck in that mindset where I want to train 6 days per week. The off days are what feel off. Like you don't want to take the off days. So I would be in the gym, 45 minutes, even now 45 minutes, previously 60, 75 minutes, 6 days a week. But historically, I've always noticed even down to like 4 days a week, maybe an hour per session, that's when I gained weight the best, probably because I was training less, so recovery was a bit better.
That's what he wanted to do, to clarify. I know not everybody wants to gain weight.
Gaining weight and strength. So strength, that especially like when I was deadlifting, the big three were always a staple. So bench, squat, deadlift, those went up the most significant amount, and I was putting on muscle most efficiently when I was only training 4 days a week. Now I'm still training 5. Occasionally I work up to 6 just because I enjoy it, but it's a little more well-rounded and it's also less volume per session.
And you're not in the gym for 2 hours at a time like we used to be. So for me, it's not necessarily how many days per week. Like I don't care how many days per week I train, but for me, it was more so the mindset coming from that powerlifting background where every single lift session had to be like at a super high intensity and crushing really, really heavy weights and like just crushing my CNS and pushing as hard as possible every single time I walked in the gym. And I still sometimes struggle with that mindset of like, oh, I have to squat today. I need to at least hit this amount, versus actually using an RPE chart, an RPE scale, and assessing how I'm feeling for that day. So it's something I still kind of struggle with mentally, not so much right now, but like every now and then I start to get back into that mindset. But you have to remember that you don't need to crush your soul every time you go in the gym. You don't need to max out every time you go in the gym. You shouldn't be. We should be training submaximally. Submaximally. And that's how we see progress. So where was I going with that? Getting back to energy levels. I think that if you're of the mindset right now that you have to leave your soul in the gym every time you go, something's got to change. The way that you're training probably isn't in alignment with your life. And I think a lot of people who do this also struggle with the all or nothing thinking too, because those are also the people that either show up and go 100 or they don't show up at all and skip workouts.
The vast majority of people listening to this podcast, and that's not to say you're not going to see the physical benefits, but the vast majority of those listening to this podcast are training to feel better. So you can still gain weight, you can still gain muscle, you can still get stronger, you can still lose fat and maintain muscle by making sure you're scaling back total intensity, total volume. So that being said, most people in this demographic listening to us right now want those things along with more energy. So I say all that to say your training should make every other area of your life better. Your training should make you more productive. It should give you more energy. It should give you a mood boost. It should allow you to have more patience with your kids. And that can all still happen while getting stronger and while improving your physique. But let that kind of be the push, if you needed one, to scale back a little bit if you aren't feeling better after your workouts.
Yeah. And then the third area really that you have to consider when it comes to energy levels and how you feel each day is your nutrition. If you are under eating, if you are not eating the right ratios of protein, carbs, and fats, you're going to feel exhausted and fatigued day in and day out. You're going to be plateauing in the gym. You're going to see plateaus with fat loss if that's your goal. So your nutrition is so important, and eating enough food is so important. Eating enough protein and fiber and making sure you're eating mostly whole foods. All of these things are so, so, so important when it comes to your energy levels and just how you feel overall. So that honestly should probably be step one. Sleep and training are also important too. But if your nutrition is not where it needs to be, you're going to know. And it's going to be very clear.
And to even take that a step further, you think about the quality of our foods. So not even just talking about organic and the things that they're doing, but the soil itself, the things that are being, grown in America, our soil is pretty depleted. So if you are eating primarily processed foods and then the occasional fruit or vegetable or whole food or whatever it is, but that's not the norm, it's not something you're consuming with every meal, you are going to be very micronutrient deficient. You're going to be deficient of certain vitamins and minerals, and it's not going to be a good feeling for you. So that's another consideration with all this. And that is where, once you check all those boxes, supplementation can help you get to that next level. But if you're not checking those boxes first, it's putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot, like a shotgun wound. It's not going to do a damn thing, but those will be the final things you sprinkle on top. Now, to kind of pull in something I've dealt with fairly recently, we'll just scale back even further. So I dealt with Barrett's esophagus for about a decade. I won't dive into that. We've got a few episodes touching on it. But the last thing that I got back as I recovered was my energy and my vitality. And it was devastating, 5-6 years ago, as far as where I was at energy-wise. I had nothing. Literally had nothing to give. So I did recently turn to TRT and peptides. I say recently, it was about a year and a half ago, because I was doing everything that we just mentioned. I was doing all of the things, and it just, I was getting back to closer to normal, but I was still feeling like a shell of myself. So I figured, hey, something's going to be off. This will help me maintain an optimal balance. So I did take that leap, had a very poor reaction to those things, and was off it within a week and a half. That to say, I did some more soul searching afterwards, because that was off the table for me, at least at that point in time. I may revisit down the road if needed. Right now, it's not needed, luckily. But that led me to do another check, which was my gut. And I did some testing there. We found some parasites, some bacterial overgrowth. We treated those things to hopefully alleviate some inflammation. All of that to say, I got that taken care of. I did a cycle on that over the course of, 3 or 4 months. Danielle Kepix, when I was working with her at the time, did the protocol for me, and I felt better. Definitely felt better through that. All that to say, when we try to, assess what we need, we don't typically assess why we need it. So as far as the root cause. So for myself, I had done all the things. I was sleeping. I was eating all the right things. I was training the right way. Nothing seemed to be working, but there was something still causing that fatigue. It didn't just come from nowhere. And for me, that was probably some parasites. It was probably some systemic inflammation. I had very high inflammatory markers on those tests.
Now, I think it's important to note, too, a lot of you are going to hear this and think, oh, maybe I'll just jump into the parasite cleanse or jump into the gut testing, which if you want to go that route, fine. But you still need to make sure the other basics are where they need to be.
It still all starts there.
Any good hormone, what does Danielle call herself? What's like her title?
PA. Holistic PA.
So any holistic PA or whoever you're working with is going to tell you that you need to do those basics first, because that's really step one into figuring out what's going on. So I know I just want to touch on like the flashiness of some people will hear gut testing and all that stuff.
Well, that goes right back to what we're talking about now. Those are the final steps
right.
you take. I laid the foundation first, so I was able to decipher, hey, I'm doing all the things. Something is still off. What is off? And my primary care wasn't going to do any kind of specialized test. They were never going to figure it out. Luckily, we were working with Danielle at the time, and things were going great as far as her assessments, and we tested the right things, and we found something. Whether or not that was exactly what it was, who knows? But there were some things that were connected during that time period that made me feel a lot better. So, again, it starts with the baselines, because even if I did that prior to fine-tuning everything else in my lifestyle, I still wouldn't have felt better. Because I did those things, I knew those boxes should have been checked, so something else is going on. But again, supplements without any direction as far as specificity and why, they're not going to get you to that level. They're not going to make anything significantly better. You have to check those bigger boxes first and then realize that there is an underlying cause. Circling back to that, for most of you who are feeling this way, that underlying cause is a lack of sleep. It is a lack of recovery. It is high levels of stress. It is the most fundamental things that are just incorporated as a normal part of our lifestyles right now. That is your underlying cause. Most of you don't need gut test. I shouldn't say that, because a lot of us have very poor gut health, but high level overview. A lot of it
can be repaired with the basics.
Exactly.
So that was kind of energy levels dipping into a few other buckets here. Why don't we hop over into digestion, since we kind of bled into that a little bit. A lot of the popular things that you see right now for digestion are like the I don't even know what they're called. Well, we have like reds and greens. We have like the detox teas. We have, I don't even know what the heck is out there. There's so many different gut supplements that people are talking about. So digestion is one where obviously nutrition plays a big role. And if you're only crushing your nutrition sometimes or like during the weekdays and your weekends are absolute crap, that's probably why your digestion is not in a great place. If you're eating mostly processed, highly processed foods, that is probably why your digestion is not in a great place. So that is step one, is to focus on what you are eating, both quality and quantity, before you add in anything like a reds and greens or whatever else you want to add in. I would say, we used to take the reds and greens from First Form regularly every day for a while. I stopped taking them maybe 2 years ago now. During one of the pregnancies, it just was like a food aversion. I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't stomach the taste of them. And then I just never took them again because we were in a pretty good place as far as like eating more whole foods. I think I started taking them before our big move from our last house. We moved into my parents' house for 9 months. We were just in a very high stress state, and our nutrition was still good. I'm not saying it wasn't good, but it wasn't like the most optimal. Would you agree? Mm-hmm. So in that scenario, I was leaning on the reds and greens a little bit. They did make me feel good. We could afford them. It was fine. And then I just realized I didn't really need them anymore after having this aversion. So it was kind of like a blessing in disguise, but our diets are like on point, and they have been on point for a while. We eat mostly whole foods. We eat a variety of different fruits and vegetables and plants. It literally, most of the time cannot be better. So I just felt like I didn't need them anymore. But a lot of people who are influencing about these things will tell you that they're going to be like a quick fix to your gut health. And that's just not true. That's not anything I've ever said when taking them, to clarify. But people do say that. And I think that at the end of the day, again, main theme here is that it's just a Band-Aid on anything you've got going on. It may make you feel better. It may make you feel worse, but it's not going to be this like magical thing that's going to heal your gut from
you also have to keep in mind with a lot of these things. I know, I'll just say a lot of these things. You get a lot of these proprietary blends. You get a ton of different ingredients in whatever the serving is. When that's the case, when you've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 different things within a serving, usually the serving size of that doesn't even create enough. There's not enough quantity of one individual thing to meet the need. So it's not like you're taking one big scoop of spirulina or one big scoop of X, Y, or Z. You're taking a tiny, tiny micro blend of all these little things that it's like, okay, well, what Band-Aid are you even putting on? And not to say these things can't be helpful. Again, they're the supplement after you apply after you consume all the other things. But on top of that, you got to talk about bioavailability. And you can cry about it till the cows come home as far as, it's created to be bioavailable. Well, nothing's going to be as bioavailable as the food you're consuming, in the natural form that it was supposed to be, in the quantities that it was supposed to be, as you consume it. So that's why you start first with your diet, all the nutrient diversity, all the fiber diversity. And then if you want to add those things afterwards, great. But you can't eat whatever diet you're consuming if it's not nutrient dense now, have those things and expect to have the same results. That's not the case.
Fiber is a big topic of conversation for us recently. If you are a regular podcast listener, you know this. If you're a client, you know this. We post about it all the time. We highly value fiber. I track it just as I would protein. And the other day, I got an interesting comment from somebody who posted or commented on one of my older reels to someone else who was asking, how do you regularly hit 40 grams of fiber per day? That seems like so much for me. And for most of you, that is going to seem like a lot because I think
the average is 7 in America, 7
so
grams
low.
per day, which is difficult to do.
Well, clearly not here in America. But anyway, this other person who doesn't even follow me answered the first commenter saying that she has her fiber 1 bar every day and that allows her to hit her fiber goals. So let's talk about fiber supplements really quick and why you don't necessarily want to rely on things like a fiber 1 bar to hit your fiber goals.
Well, for one, fiber diversity is very important. So for each different source of fiber you're consuming, it basically feeds a different species of your gut microbiota. So if you're consuming one 10-gram serving from a bar, or they have these,
I think they're like 20 grams.
well, those wraps, those tortillas, I forget the brand, but they got like 25 grams of fiber in a single wrap, and you have 2 tacos and you got 50 grams of fiber. That's from one source. And take it how you see it. You can check that box and say, oh, look at all this fiber I'm consuming, but it's not nearly as beneficial as if you're consuming different types of plants throughout the day.
When it comes to gut health.
And
when you're relying on like a bar or a supplement for your fiber intake, you're missing out on so many other nutrients that you could be getting from a variety of foods. So we're not really super supportive of fiber supplements. I just wanted to bring that up because it came up on social media recently. So that's digestion, that's energy levels. Let's go into sleep, because I think that's another hot topic of people feel like they can't sleep. They can't fall asleep. They can't stay asleep. They're not sleeping long enough. So
here's the bridge. Here's the bridge from digestion to sleep. So on top of what you're consuming, how much you're consuming, it's also when you're consuming it. So we won't call this intermittent fasting. We're not going to call it, I guess it's your eating window. Not to say you can't eat to a certain point, but what I've noticed is a huge benefit for my sleep is not consuming anything, food, what you can drink, water, whatever, but eating anything within 3 hours of bedtime. So for your digestion, what that's doing is letting your body finish digesting and actually rest and recover and repair your organ tissues and repair your muscles and all the good things, go through all your different sleep cycles. If you're digesting, those things really aren't happening because your body's focusing on digesting the food, and you're typically digesting that food 5 to 6 hours after your last meal, or whatever that meal was. So if you're waiting 3 hours before bed, you're still going to be digesting 2 to 3 hours into sleep, but you should get another 3, 4, 5 hours of, fasted recovery while you're sleeping. And even when I'm within that window, so if I stop eating 3 hours before bed, I do notice when we have our fun meals. So, hey, ice cream night, whatever it is, we had it 3 days ago. I slept through the night. I could feel my heart beating a little faster as I went to sleep, but it didn't wake me up. Checking my Oura ring, my heart rate stayed elevated through the entire night. Didn't go through my typical sleep cycles. So that's another consideration as well for those who are enjoying in quote unquote moderation. And it's a small bowl of this, and it's a small portion of this, that, and the other. That's not actual moderation. I'm not going to dive into that. We have a full episode 2 or 3 shots back. But for myself, I notice my recovery is off. I'm not sleeping as well. I'm sleeping as long. Quality is off because I am consuming those things, or that thing, that bowl of ice cream, before bed. My body just doesn't love it, even though I'm within that 3 hour window. So what you're consuming, how often you're consuming it, when you're consuming it, those things not only play a role in digestion, but also sleep.
Yeah. So, things like melatonin, magnesium, what are the other? There's actual like sleep supplements.
ZMA with L-theanine.
I don't know what they consist of. There's so many things out there. Again, these are not going to be a quick fix that knocks you out. I mean, melatonin isn't, what do they say now as far as taking that? You shouldn't be taking it every day forever, right?
No, you want to use, like, if you're having trouble sleeping, you can use it to kind of establish your sleep routine and reestablish your circadian rhythm in conjunction with other protocols, but up to 2-3 weeks.
Yeah. So take that for what it is. Test out maybe stopping your last meal a little bit longer before bedtime if you can. And then just like focusing on a simple wind down routine. We're all so used to being on our phones or watching TV or watching a movie right up until we need to go to bed, or you fall asleep on the couch watching it. That literally cannot be when you fall asleep and then you wake up and then you get in your bed and you can't fall asleep. I know I can relate to a lot of you there. It just is not great. So have a more calming wind down routine where you can actually shut your brain off, whether you're reading, whether you're meditating, whether you're just doing some breath work, stretching without any big overhead lights on. Do what you can to actually calm your body down. That's going to be the easiest, and not necessarily easiest, but the most simple approach to actually getting some better sleep.
Yeah, if you can get your morning light in as close to waking as possible, you can do an evening walk as well, or just, standing out in the backyard. That light, depending where the sun is in the sky, is sending signals to your body. It's it is regulating your circadian rhythm. So that is a big step there. We actually swapped out our bedroom lights with red lights, not the expensive ones, but just these amber lights you can get on Amazon. It's
like a yellowy
99.9% blue
orange.
light free.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, avoiding bright lights. When you see those bright lights, it tamps down the melatonin production, the natural melatonin production. So you want to avoid those bright lights before bed. You usually piss me off with that, usually in the bathroom when I'm brushing my teeth and you turn all the lights on. I just want to
make sure I'm getting all my makeup off. That's a me problem.
It's a me problem when you go turn all the lights on.
So sleep, obviously, something that we all can be better at preparing for. Even if you have littles, like even in the earliest stages of when we had Cora, these were things that we were focusing on because they were in our control. Even if she woke up throughout the night, I knew that I did what I could to help my body get as good sleep in that small amount of time as I could. So
control the controllables.
Focus on what you can.
And again, raising little kids, it's nice to unwind at the end of the day, watch a show on Netflix or whatever it is, which is fine, but give yourself at least 30, if not an hour, 30 minutes to read, meditate, stretch, unwind in bed, unplugged. So take the time for yourself, but also schedule a little time to actually unplug and get ready for bed. So one little consideration in the sleep hygiene department. What do we got next?
2 more. We have muscle gain and fat loss. I'll kind of pair them as one, I guess, because usually people want both. As far as the supplements out there that claim they can help you with these things, I don't even know. But I know a lot of people, what is the fat loss one? Like the fat burners, and I don't even know what's in them these days.
Used to be ephedrine.
I could not even look and tell you what they were, but I know that they're still out there. I know that people are still falling for these things.
Well, now it's not necessarily, they probably still call some fat burners, but supplements that get your body to utilize fat for energy better.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think at this point in the podcast, you can probably guess what we're going to say, but save your money. As far as gaining muscle, there's nothing out there that's going to like poof, put muscle on your body. That just doesn't exist. We talk a lot about creatine. That is helpful, but you have to be training the right way for it to be helpful. So take that for what it is. Creatine is the most research-backed supplement out there. It's definitely something we support, but again, if you're not doing the basics, it's not going to work.
If you're not sleeping, if you're not recovering, if you're not training with progressive overload, if you're not following the same programs over time, which again is going into progressive overload, if you're not fueling yourself well, if you're not consuming enough calories, not consuming enough protein, not consuming enough nutrients, all the little things that are going to make all the difference in the world. That being said, you can start it's not like you have to wait to take creatine. Like a lot of these other things, we'll say wait until you establish X, Y, or Z. If you are training regularly and you are eating well and you are sleeping well, you can start creatine today. That's fine in conjunction with all the other things. If you're not doing all the other things, if you're not training properly, if you're not recovering well, it's not going to do anything but bloat you maybe and give you some water weight. You're not going to get stronger magically from taking this powder. You're not going to gain muscle magically from taking this powder. And even if you want to take it as far as taking testosterone, you can take testosterone and it's not going to build you up. It's not going to make you bigger, stronger, faster if you're not practicing the things, if you're not lifting to get bigger, stronger, faster. There is no thing you can consume, you can inject. There's nothing that will let you achieve that goal without doing the little things first.
Gotta do the work. But even like protein powder, like I'll still occasionally get questions. For some reason, people think of protein powder as this, like, it must be the way that they market it. It's like this magical muscle builder, or like, I mean, I think some women's protein companies market it as like, it'll help you get toned. It's not going to do that unless you're working out, unless you're training progressively. So protein supplements, I'll kind of talk about them generically. They're all going to be a little different based on what the ingredients are, but it's literally just a powdered form of food, protein from food. So it's not anything special. It's just an easier way to help you hit your protein targets, which you can hit from whole food sources too.
But if you get full fat, it is a convenient way to add additional protein.
Mm-hmm. But I just want to clarify that because I think some people still think it's like this separate entity, which it's not. It's just ground up protein from food.
Usually processed milk.
It sounds super yummy when we market it that way, huh? But that was it. I mean, those are our top things. I think those are the top things that people think they need supplements to help them with, when in reality, we just have to come all the way back around to the basics and being consistent with the basics. You cannot do this Monday through Friday and then say F it on the weekends, because that's a big portion of your time and your overall being consistency across the board. So make sure whatever you are starting with is something that you can take baby steps to being consistent with. You don't have to change your whole life at once. I think we have a couple episodes talking about that too, but it all starts with these basics.
And that was actually today's email. If you guys are on the daily list, I don't know if it went out to weekly, maybe scheduled for the weekly. You do not have to be perfect. None of these areas do you have to be perfect in. We don't expect it from our clients. You shouldn't expect it of yourself. But you do have to be consistent. You have to be on point whenever possible. And then when things are off track, whether it's a single meal, whether it's a day, whether it's a week, whether it's one area or all the areas, all 5 pillars you talk about with the SDE method: training, nutrition, mindset, movement, habits. Don't waste time, basking in the fuck up. Jump right back to it. If it was the one meal, make sure your next meal is better. If it was the one day, don't wait until Monday. Start tomorrow. If it was the week, don't say I'm going to start when things slow down. Start as soon as you are able to do so. Be consistent when you are able to do so. When things go off, that's fine. As long as you reframe your mindset and say, when I can control it, it's going to be better immediately, in an hour, tomorrow, whatever the case is. Just be consistent with these protocols. You can't do these things 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week as your norm and taking the weekends off and letting everything hit the fan. When you can control it, enjoy yourself in moderation, but don't bask in the things you screwed up with, and continue to move forward. All that being said, I hope it is very clear on this podcast, and I assume that it is, but you can't assume anything. We basically talk about these same things or the principles anyway, in different areas of the same things every single episode. That is what we do with SD Evolution. That is what we do with our app. That is what we do with one-on-one coaching. We are not what you expect from traditional health coaches, because we are not just dishing out training programs. We are not just dishing out nutritional protocols to the same effect as we talked about in this episode as far as supplementation. Not to say those things are supplements, but they are two pieces of a larger whole, which is where the SDE method comes in. So we do have training and nutrition, but we also have mindset, movement, and habits, which support training and nutrition and support every other area of your life, and allow this to become a lifestyle as opposed to being a short-term plan, a short-term challenge, a short-term whatever you want to call it.
A lifestyle that actually feels good on the inside. It's not just something that you're doing for a short term for show or for whatever the current motivation is. It's something that you genuinely enjoy and feels good, and you get excited. Like everything that we do, I wake up so excited for. Like I am so pumped about the life that we get to live because I feel good. It feels good. I enjoy what we're eating. I enjoy how we train. I enjoy feeling good in my body. And that's what we hope to give to you.
Everything we do for ourselves, everything we build into our clients' protocols, it is not one size fits all. We build them with them, is to make every other area of your life better. And that is the root cause. We'll go through, our prospect calls, and I'll ask what they're currently struggling with. They talk about what their current goals are, what they want to accomplish with us. But I also connect that back to the root cause. And it's not just to gain weight. It's not just to, I say gain weight like it's a normal thing, to gain muscle, to lose fat. Nobody else is thinking about that. To improve performance, to go run their 5K, their 10K. Those are goals, which are great. We're going to accomplish those. Those are short term. But then we circle back to how does that improve the rest of your life? And 90% of the time, if they have kids, it's so I have energy to keep up with my kids. It's so I feel more comfortable and confident in my skin, and I can go out and I can enjoy life. Those are the root causes. Those are the things you guys are actually trying to accomplish as you get stronger, as you look better. You just want to feel better. You want to have more confidence. You want to have more energy, vitality, get the most out of life. That is what we're doing. I ramble on that because it's connected to this episode, obviously, as far as not just focusing on superficial layers, training and nutrition, but also the things that support those, the most specific habits that are needed. But also I feel like there's been, I don't want to say misconception, but maybe some dilution with the term health coaching. And we do not call ourselves a health coaching company at this point. We're, again, on the calls I'm talking about, we're more like an online personal academy. We learn about you. We teach you about yourself. If you want to call it a health and fitness concierge service, it's kind of like that too, because there are 1,000 different ways to do something. And we're going to pick those things that you enjoy and you respond best to right off the shelf and build them into your plan because you like them and they make you better and they make you feel better. So I hope you guys are getting a ton of value out of these podcasts. I hope you guys are on the email lists because we're providing daily value for those of you who are opted into the daily emails. We also have a weekly email that blasts out, usually, highlighting what the podcasts were, and we'll go through a couple more deep dives as far as some of the topics there. So getting more value out of that. I don't think it's listed in our show notes, so we should probably add that so you can opt right in. It might be, but we'll just double check. I know there's a guide in there. So we'll add that back in there. But we aren't saying all this to sell you guys. We just want to help you create sustainable changes. And there are plenty of people who use our free tools. We have freebies on our site, this podcast, social media, plenty of people who are using those things that never sign up for anything. For those of you who want some guidance, we've got the app. For those of you who need the personal guidance, we've got one-on-one coaching. So when is it time to make that leap to coaching? Well, if you've started with our free tools, which if you haven't, please start there. Don't just book a call. You can, if you really, really need it and you're committed and you're set on that, that's fine. For most of you, start off with the free tools. Jump in there, go through our guides, understand our philosophy, start applying those things on your own. If you do that, you are going to start seeing progress. From that point, and even in conjunction with the freebies, you can download our app. It's $24.99 a month.
This month's free code is
Mayflower. Not with an S. Not Mayflowers. Mayflower, all lowercase.
Like the ship, the boat.
The like April showers bring Mayflowers, but Mayflower. I try to make it catchy every month with the coupon code. So that is for new users only. If you've used it in the past, it's not going to validate that coupon. Again, it's $24.99 a month. We provide as much value in there as we can.
$1 a day.
Less than $1 a day. We give you consistent programs. We update them each month. We're going to be revamping that as well. We have a whole rebrand going on and a lot of exciting things that are going to be happening over the next 4 to 6 weeks. But the app will give you a ton of free tools. The SDE method is what it's called, SDE method. It's right on our site. Again, this month's code. I'm sorry. Actually, it is live. Yeah. It's not actually May yet, but it is live. Mayflower is live. You can start there. Now, circling all the way back to when is it time to reach out for one-to-one coaching? One-on-one coaching is for the people who have done those things. They know who we are. They've been listening to the podcast. They've been getting these free tools. They've seen some progress, but they still feel like they're spinning their tires a bit. And that is because you are going through the trial and error phase where I see all these things I can do for training, for nutrition, for mindset, for movement, for habits. I haven't found the thing that I really love yet. I haven't found the thing that's giving me, the biggest ROI in regards to my time that I'm putting into this, the effort that I'm putting into this versus the progress that I'm getting out. So that is the time to reach out for coaching because your coach knows all the things. All of our coaches are absolute rock stars. We pair you up based on fit, not for credentials. They're all highly credentialed. They're all rock stars. They wouldn't be on the team if they weren't. But based on our conversations, based on your applications, the things that you say when you say them a certain way, we say that vibes well with Robin. That vibes well with Kara, with Sienna, with Haley. Whoever that connection is, Alessandra and I'll put you in there. Or if you're following along, you can make that selection as long as they have an open roster spot. So their job is to take their knowledge and to have those conversations with you because we are not just throwing stuff at you. We are actually listening to the things you're saying and incorporating those into the plan. So, hey, you enjoy doing this. Let's build on that. This is an area you struggle with or you don't enjoy doing it. Let's go ahead and remove that and find something else to put in there. Everything we do is a holistic approach. Not every client tracks macros. There are different ways to do that. Not every client trains 5-6 days a week. We build everything for you from the ground up. We built our own client portal specifically to be customizable for each individual client. All that to again say, everything we say on this podcast, we have said 1,000 times. That is our philosophy. It is a holistic approach. It adds value to every other area of your life. We are not like any other health coach you have ever worked with. And I hope you get that from listening to this. I hope you get that from consuming our content on social. We're building up YouTube a little bit more now, but even just Instagram. Follow along, watch, listen, make use of that value. There's no secret that we keep on our side. It's all out there. It's all in the public. Use it. And when you're ready, if you're ready, if you're not, awesome. I'm very happy that you were able to achieve what you needed to achieve without working with us. But when you're ready, reach out for an application. There's no obligation. We do not do a hard close on the calls. We give you all the info, let you process it. We hold your spot for 24 hours, let you think about it. The app, you can sign up today. You can cancel whenever you want. There's no commitment unless you're paying for the year to get a little bit of discount. We don't do plugs. We don't do ads. And I don't even talk about coaching or the app on every single episode. but this one was very related. And for those of you who are unaware of what we do and how we do it, that's the flow. Go start with our free stuff. You can use that in conjunction with the app. Reach out for coaching if and when you're ready.